so much for joining me here today. While you're here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you as a new subscriber. This week I'm going to be showing you how I transform a rundown bookcase that I have into this masterpiece, which actually fits the aesthetic and the look and feel of my house, and it was so easily done. So if you'd like to watch through, I'll show you every little bit detail of how I transformed this bookshelf. Let's get into it. So first we're going to pull all the shoes out of this rack. I did get a head start on this project, but I'll run you guys through what I've done already. Firstly, I got myself a really good electric sander with a high grit sandpaper on there. Because there's so many surfaces on this, I've got all 4 surfaces inside every single cube and a lot of surface area to sand back. An electric sander is definitely the preferred option for a job this big. If you've got something small that you're working on though, you can do it by hand as well, and that is definitely a cheaper option. But for this one I used a hand sander that I had already. Give it a really good sand back. You want to get basically all of it off back to the actual wooden material underneath, because otherwise the paint's not going to stick. The next thing I did after sanding is primed. I went out and got myself a really good quality primer. So this is the Grip Lock Primer by White Knight. It is perfect for laminate tiles or any shiny glossy surfaces, which is exactly what this was before I got started. I also got it in the white, and that's going to help give a really good base for this glossy colour I'm going to put over the top. I just put 1 coat of that over the whole lot, and I've let that dry really well overnight. I've got myself a really good gloss paint. It's the same paint that is on the doors of the trims in the house here. So I can use that paint to actually paint this piece and make sure it matches with the rest of the house. And I've also got myself a paint tray, a roller. I've got myself a foam sponge roller. That's really good for high gloss paints as well. And I've got myself a little paintbrush to get in those nooks and crannies. I went with something a little bit wider, and that way I'm going to be covering more surface area when I'm actually rolling on this piece, because my roller is a little bit bigger and a medium size. Alright, let's get into the painting. So to begin with, I'm going to use a smaller roller in the corners here, just to make sure there's a really neat finish with the paint right in those corners. So getting a smaller roller I found laying around and putting it in those corners first. And I like to do both directions running into the corners, just to make sure I've got really good coverage in there and to make it easier when I'm using the bigger roller on those sides. So there are those 2 bottom corners done. And I'm working on the top ones here too. And I always make sure I paint underneath as well, even though from your view you may not be able to see the underneath area. Other people or children or anyone shorter might be able to see underneath the furniture in that area as well where you can't see, especially if they are grabbing something off the floor and they end up looking up. You don't want them to see an unfinished piece. So make sure you get into those nooks and crannies as well. I know it takes a bit of extra time, but it will be well worth it to have a well finished piece and to really make it look complete. So just getting those done, and then getting the larger roller, and everything in between can then get rollered to give a really smooth finish and consistent coat. Make sure you change the direction of your brush every now and then as well. I am using that really high density foam, which is going to give it a great finish for this high gloss paint. But also have a look at whatever paint you're using. A different roller head may be more useful depending on what type of paint you're using and the finish that you're after as well in your piece. There you go, 1 more cube done and plenty more to go. Let's get to it. If you watched my garage makeover last week, you'll know that this video is in collaboration with Sayantani from DIY Already. She is doing an Ikea hack transformation over on her channel, so make sure you check out that video after you finish watching this one. I'll link it in the cards above right now for you and also in the description box below. Okay, so I've given this piece about 30 minutes already, but I want to give it the full 2 to 3 hours as recommended on the can to dry completely before I put on that second coat of white paint. So while we're waiting for this piece to dry properly, let's head out. We've got a little excursion. Of course, we're going to go to Ikea to pick up some more supplies and maybe pop by the office supplies store as well. So let's go, I'll bring you guys along. Come on. Okay, so I've done a little shopping trip. Let me show you what we got. First of all, I'm going to label every one of the boxes that I'm going to put in this piece. I've got these little card holders. They're the kind that you would wear as a name tag, and they've got a pin and a clip on the back. And we're going to print out the cards to slip into these to label each of them. They're a few dollars. They come in packs of 10, and I got 2 of them since I have 16 cubes. You can find these in basically any office supplies store as well, maybe even in a $2 store you could find them cheaper. So they're really great and going to do the job perfectly for us. The other piece I got was the Ikea Droner. So these are the grey Droner boxes from Ikea. Do keep in mind as well, I'm going to pop links to both the name tag and the Droner down below in the description box. So have a look down there if you're interested in either of those products. I'll link them. So the Droner, these are 33 centimeters wide by 33 centimeters high, and then the depth is 38 centimeters. I did measure this piece before we went out, and the width and the height was right for these boxes, almost spot on. The depth is the hard one for me though. These are a little bit bigger than what I needed, but that's okay because we can just have this cabinet 2 centimeters off the wall, and that'll mean that these boxes then run flush to the front and they're not sticking out or overhanging. So that's perfect. I'm going to get in and do the second coat of paint now, guys, so you can stick with me for a second while I quickly get the second coat of paint on, and then we'll let it dry. So I'm going to construct all 16 of these Droner boxes now. Wish me luck, and I'll be back with you in just a second. Okay, that was pretty easy for you guys, but it took a few minutes here for me to get all these boxes built. We have 16 of them, and I'm now going to show you guys how we put the labels on them. I'm going to attach the labels underneath this little front pull section to the fabric on here. The rest of the boxes are really stable. Even the bottoms have a hard base inside them, but they're just empty. And once we have those labels on, I'm going to fill them up with all the shoes. Alright, let me show you how I do the labels now. I will also be linking here too to my label video that I've already created. So up above in the cards there, you'll see a little pop-up to go to another video where I've created labels that are all through my home. Okay, so I've got my labels all printed here. I've printed them using the same technique as I use on my labels for all the bottles in the pantries in my house. As I said, that video is linked above, but here's what they look like. I just changed the size to a business card size, is the size that I selected for the label. And that is what will then fit in those little pouches that I've got. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all these out and then pop them in those little pouches, the card holders here, and then we'll be able to put them on the boxes. So it should be really easy. Once you've actually cut them all, I just left when I did them a little line, and I made it a very light grey colour so I had an easy line to cut to follow. And then just slipping them in like so. So just getting them in between the 2 bits of plastic, slipping them in and sliding them down to the bottom. So they look like that. And then once they are all slipped in and on, I will go ahead and pin them to the boxes. So okay, that's every single box labeled. I'm going to get this shelf back into its original position. I'm going to fill these boxes up with the shoes, and then we can put it all together and see the finished product. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end of the video, guys. Here is the finished product. I'm so happy with how it's turned out. This is completely different to what it first looked like and finally actually suits the look and feel of my house. Functionality wise, it's going to be so much better. I can pull out what I need, grab them easily without things falling everywhere, pop them back in. I've also left some room down below with some blank empty ones for growth as well, so that we have room to grow into. But this is seriously a big change. For functionality, a 10 out of 10. For look and feel in the house now, a 10 out of 10. It finally looks like a piece of my furniture. So thank you so much for sticking around until this part of the video and this far in. If you've liked what you've seen so far, hit the subscribe button down below and don't forget to ring that little notifications bell so that way you're notified every single time I post. I'm also going to pop down in the description box a link to Tani's video. She's at DIY already and she's doing a video this week as well on Ikea hacks. So make sure you check out that link down in the description box. Thanks again for your time, guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye.